In our breaking story today, the people have spoken, and Donald Trump may well need this again. As the president sets new standards in unhinged behavior each and every day, it seems the vast majority of Americans are favorably looking north as the country changes violently and rapidly before our very eyes. Welcome to Occupy Democrats, and hit that subscribe button if you remember the days when your heart once swelled with something called national pride.
You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Those were the days. Well, as Donald Trump continues to harass our neighbors with his arrogant assertions, the rest of the country is growing measurably unhappy. As you're about to see in our featured story in just a second, they're unhappy because of his presidential plundering, both nationally and internationally.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now. President Trump has just made a Truth Social post about Canada. What is he saying?
Hey, Lindsay, this just came across our desk just right now. The president is calling out Canada for what he says they're doing in building a, quote, massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan, saying that Canada owns both sides of the land and therefore they're going to build it with virtually no U.S. consent. He also says the Canadian government expects him to permit them to do this and take advantage of the U.S. He goes on to call out Mark Carney, who's the Prime Minister of Canada. Now, the two of them have had a very interesting relationship. It's gotten chummy at points. It's gotten very friendly when Mark Carney has come here. And then there have been moments, especially in the ongoing trade negotiations, where we have seen this, which is a breakdown in communications between both sides, where President Trump says that he is going to retaliate. And in this case, he says they're going to start negotiations about this immediately. With all we have given them, we should own perhaps at least 1/2 of this asset. So appearing that the president is quite upset with Canada at this moment this evening. Another part I want to point out in this True Social post was he calls out Prime Minister Carney for his deal with China. Now, that caught a lot of attention in recent weeks when Prime Minister Carney went to China, met with Xi Jinping, and had a new trade deal with them. The president in this True Social post said the first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. We should note Canada does not own the Stanley Cup. I don't think they've won the Stanley Cup in the last at least 15 years or so. But the president's still calling out the relationship that Mark Carney is building between China and Canada right now.
In turn, Mark Carney had this to say. And on the other side of this, well, it'll be our featured story, a late breaking poll to share with you that shows how all of this is adding up in Trump's favor. SAFO. Stick around and find out.
Now, the prime minister was asked about Trump's bridge ultimatum as he head into cabinet earlier today. Here's what Mark Carney had to say about a call he had with the U.S. president.
We discussed the bridge. I explained that Canada, of course, paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion, that the ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge, obviously there's Canadian steel, Canadian workers, but also U.S. steel, U.S. workers that are involved. This is a great example of cooperation between our countries. Look forward to it opening. And what is particularly important, of course, is the commerce and the tourism and the voyages of Canadians and Americans that will go across that bridge.
Wow, he's distinguished, smart, and articulate. And apparently he's not in the Epstein files. That would mean he's all the things Donald is not. Now, why can't we have a leader like Mark Carney? Well, please don't share this new breaking poll from CNN, because it just might make Donald Trump take a flying leap off the Gordie Howe Bridge after seeing this.
Canadians' grade of Trump's first term. Look at this. First year of his second term, 66%. 66% give him a giant big F. F as in failure, compared to just 6% who give him an A. And keep in mind that this 66% includes a plurality of members of every single party in Canada. It doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. You do not like Donald Trump if you are a Canadian.
So if he did make Canada the 51st state and ran for a third term, it seems unlikely he would get Canada's electoral votes.
It would seem extremely unlikely that he would get Canadians' electoral votes. And I will note that they really don't want to become the 51st state. The polling also shows that.
How about the other direction, U.S. views of Canada?
Okay, so if Canadians really don't like Donald Trump, how do Americans feel about Canada? Well, they actually like Canada. Look at this. The net popularity rating of Canada among Americans, among all adults, it's plus 46. Democrats, plus 64. Independents, plus 46. And even among Republicans, it's plus 30. Canada was the most popular country tested by this latest poll from the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. And I will note, of course, that this plus 46 is significantly higher than Donald Trump's own net popularity rating here in America. So Canada, more popular than Donald Trump in Donald Trump's own country.
Well, that's something. All right. How has tourism been affected by all of this?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, it had the tariffs. You know, then, of course, there's this whole bridge situation. But here's the thing, which is there are real tourist dollars at stake. And take a look here. Tourism in 2025 versus 2024. Canadians to America. Look at that. Down, way down 25%. Americans to Canada, just down about 2%, basically steady. Canadians really taking their anger out by not coming to the country of the United States of America, not spending their tourist dollars, while Americans are basically going to Canada in the same numbers.
And this, of course, matters because my sources tell me that Canadians represent the biggest number of visitors to the United States of any country on all of planet Earth. All right, so you mentioned tariffs. There is a big Supreme Court decision we are waiting on and have been waiting on whether many of the president's tariffs are legal. What are the prediction markets saying about that?
Yeah, okay, so all this may be for naught because just take a look here. The chance Supreme Court rules against Trump's tariffs, 70% according to the Kalshi prediction market, 70% chance. So all of this political angst, all of this money lost to tourism, and it may all be for naught because chances are, at least according to those who are putting their money where their mouth is, that the Supreme Court is going to rule against Trump's tariffs.
Someday. Eventually.
Eventually. We don't know when it's going to be.
All right.
Okay, thumbs up and elbows up. Now, the fragility of Trump's ego surely disqualifies him from any serious historical recognition as anything like a worthwhile president. Well, at least while, I'll be honest, I'm no fan of Dutch Reagan, but I wonder how those who once loved him can reconcile the differences in character. This is the spot heard round the world from our great friends in the great white north. Choke on this, tough guy.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.